Hello everyone, welcome to CPPR webinar on Decoding Kerala Budget 2023-24. Today we will be discussing the Kerala Budget 2023-24 and we have with us Dr. Joe Sebastian and Dr. C.S. Shaijamoon. The post-budget discussion is an annual event organized by the Center for Public Policy Research, which is an independent public policy think tank based out in Kochi, in the Indian state of Kerala. Our engagement in public policy that began in 2004 has initiated open dialogue, policy changes, institutional transformation in the areas of international relations and security, livelihood, education, health, urban reform, governance, and law. To know more about what we do, please do visit our website www.cppr.in and our social media accounts. I am Anu Maria Francis, Research Associate at CPPR and your moderator for today's discussion. So before we begin our discussion, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the participants who have logged in today from across the world. We look forward to engaging with you to enrich today's discussions. To put in your questions to the speaker, you can add them in the chat box from whichever social media platform that you have logged in. You can also watch the live streaming of the webinar on the YouTube. You can also follow the event on Twitter. Keep track on our live tweets on budget on the hashtag budget with CPPR and hashtag CPPR webinar. So now I would like to introduce our panelists for the day. We have with us Dr. Joe Sebastian. Dr. Joe Sebastian is the Chairman and Director of Institute for Enterprise, Culture and Entrepreneurship Development, Trivandrum. He is retired as a senior faculty in public finance from Gulati Institute of Finance and Taxation. An expert in public finance and taxation, Dr. Joe Sebastian writes for Economic and Political Weekly, IUP Journal of Public Finance, Asia Economic Review, among other well-known journals and magazines. He has also been contributing articles on Kerala's financial and developmental issues to leading Malayalam newspapers. He is also a senior fellow with CPPR. We welcome you, sir, to the discussion. Now I would like to welcome Dr. Shaijamoon CS. He is the head and associate professor of Department of Humanities at Indian Institute of Space Technology, Space Science and Technology at Trivandrum. He is a Freeman Scholar and visiting faculty of Pitzer College, Claremont, California, USA. Also, he is a Fulbright Scholar and Research Associate associated with Claremont Graduate University, California during 2003-2004. His main research areas are technology, innovation and economic development, space economics, Indian economics, etc. We welcome you, sir, to the webinar.
Thank you.
I'm sure that with us two great experts in economics, we'll have a very engaging and insightful discussion ahead. So to set the context of the discussion, a few words about Kerala Budget 2023. So the budget 2023 is the second full budget for the current government. The budget was announced in the midst of state facing an unprecedented fiscal crunch. And we were closely watching the budget just to see how it can walk a tightrope between the fiscal discipline and providing for development as well as social welfare. The economic review report, which came out the day before, although it highlighted a positive growth in the state economy and tax collection, it also emphasized that Kerala cannot afford any slippages in the revenue mobilization as the expenditure has grown. But the hard truth is that we have a public debt mounted to almost rupees 4 lakh crore, and Kerala has overtaken most of the Indian states and most of the financial indicators. The debt GDP ratio has spiraled to upwards of 37%, and even an RBI report, 2022 RBI report titled State Finances a Risk Analysis, it indicates that the ominous signs for the states. The media reports to quote, resource mobilization but in a regressive and unimaginative manner. This sums up the Kerala budget 2023-24, as the media report says. But again, the finance minister started off the budget speech with a very positive start. He says that in 2021-22, the Kerala's GDP at constant prices grew by 12%, 12.01% to be very precise. For this first time in recent history, agri-allied sector and industry-allied sector have achieved a growth of 6.7% and 17.3%, respectively. The on revenue, which was 54 54,955 crore in 2020-21 increased to 68,803 crores in 2021-22. It is expected that this will increase up to 85,000 crore in the current fiscal. This is the estimates which is given by the finance minister. So, sir, in this backdrop, the question is to Joe Sebastian, sir. Being a public finance expert, do you really think the resource mobilization strategy adopted by the Kerala government by increasing the taxes, especially of property, vehicles, electricity, liquor, also there is an imposition of cess on petrol and diesel. So is it in the right direction? Will the government be able to mobilize the resources as the projections in the budget say?
Thank you. While the finance minister has made an attempt at resource mobilization, I would say he has not really explored the unexplored area. That is the problem. Kerala is a state with tremendous potential for public resource mobilization. Now, he is looking for resource mobilization at a time when the tender has severely restricted the state's capacity to borrow publicly. That is ruled out now. Now, the two options before him are to mobilize the resources or control, compress expenditure. The compressing expenditure is another way of mobilizing resources. They are in a way equal. So if you look at the budget proposal, let us look at it one by one. The most important one, which targets to mobilize some 750 crores, is cess on petrol and diesel. It is very ridiculous because, this is a government which has been fighting against the center for raising the cess on petroleum products and putting burden on the people all along. There have been several street demonstrations, agitations, and all. But now, pushed to the wall, the government doesn't have many options. And mind you, this is one of the 4 items from which Kerala mobilizes almost 62% of own revenue. Our 62% of the own revenue comes from petrol, petroleum products, liquor, lottery, and motor goods. So, of the 3, petrol, liquor, and lottery are handled by public sector enterprises or governments itself. And as for motor vehicles, there cannot be much tax evasion because every motor vehicle has to get registered with the government. So there cannot be any, GST evasion in the case of motor. So the minister has touched 2 areas where much tax effort is not required at all. He can just raise the cess and the revenue flow. This was the calculation he had in mind. But he has been proved wrong because there has been wide opposition against this proposal because petroleum products, when the price is raised through a cess, what happens? It has a cascading impact. The prices of all commodities increase, and the increase in price is much more than what the government realizes in terms of revenue. That is cascading impact because the transporters, the wholesalers and retailers levy their tax, levy their profit on the price inclusive of the tax. So there comes the cascading impact. And mind you, Kerala is a state where almost 6 lakh auto rickshaw pullers are making a living by pulling auto rickshaw. And we have 1 crore two-wheeler owners. They are all low middle class, working class people, because they want to reach their place of work without waiting for bus and all. So everybody is dependent on at least a two-wheeler. So all this is going to impact on the family budget, and the opposition is very much justified. Then comes the tax on motor vehicles. Of course, I don't find much problem there, because the higher end vehicles are brought under the tax. So it is not directly going to impact on the poor and marginalized. This also applies somewhat in the case of the increase in the price of liquor. But here we have to remember that now after the Iraq ban, the poor are forced to consume the high cost liquor. So some of them, in the beginning they were all consuming the lowest quality liquor. But over the period, people get used to that kind of liquor, and people want to graduate. So even the poor people would try to, consume a liquor of somewhat good quality, medium quality, 400 rupees worth liquor, they may be purchasing. So they are also likely to be affected. So it is going to affect the family budget, and it is at the expense of the children and the women members of the family. So I would not agree with the first proposal altogether, but about the second proposal, taxing the liquor, let us be somewhat lenient to the finance minister. Then coming to the other proposal, like levying tax on buildings. This the finance minister has thought to get it done by the local board. But I am pretty sure this is going to fail, because the local bodies have inherent limitations from the point of view of mobilizing, raising the property tax. There will be opposition at the local level. And the local representatives are people who want to get elected again. They would be quite unwilling to, tell the local people to pay higher tax. And there will be different, pressures in different places. So a better option would have been to take over the right of property taxation from the local bodies. After all, the constitution has assigned the taxation of, buildings, etc., to the state. The state has assigned to the local body. So through a tax rental arrangement, it was quite possible for the finance minister to take over the right to levy property tax and levy it on a somewhat high rate across the states, and using modern technology like GPS. My estimate, it is a rough estimate, my estimate is that the state would have collected around 15,000 crores by levying a higher property tax. There is every logic for it, because we are paying huge pensions to government employees. There are pensioners who, husband and wife put together receive around 1 lakh rupees. These are people who have withdrawn from consumption.
I know, अभी मैं दरवाजे में बोले, ये आई तो भाई हो गई,
Hello,
कितना वेट किया?
is it audible? Hello. If they do not levy the tax, if they do not consume, the state would not be able to mobilize resources through GST, because these people have withdrawn from consumption. Then how to bring revenue to the state? One way is levying appropriate property tax. The other way is raising the tax on the electricity duty. These are two ways through which one can mobilize resources from the people, retired people who have constructed big mansions. they are owning more than one property. So it is quite possible. And mind you, in developed countries, the property tax is a major source of revenue for the local. But in the case of Kerala and the whole Indian state, the local bodies are increasingly dependent on the state government for revenue. So the better option would have been to levy property tax at a higher rate and compensate the local body. That opportunity, I think the finance minister has lost. Another important area of levying, raising resources is appropriate user charges on the fee collected by the state on services provided in the health and education sector. In 1970-71, Kerala was collecting 5.55% of the revenue expenditure in health and education in the form of various fees. Payward charges over the fee of medical college students, engineering college students, arts and science students, and so on. But now it has come down in 2021-22. It has come down to 1.26%. That means when the state spends 100 rupees, it is getting back only 1.26 rupees. When the state spends 51,583.64 crores, it is realizing only 647.82 crores. I made a calculation in this context and found that where the state levying 5.55%, that is the rate which was prevailing in 1970-71. Today, the finance minister would have mobilized 2,862.89 crores from this source alone. So let us leave 2,000, to 5.55%. Had he raised it to, from 1.26, had he raised it to 3%, now raised some 1,700 crores from it. So this was a golden opportunity for him. But he didn't have the political will, the required acumen or whatever it be, political support or whatever it be, to antagonize the student organizations, the local middle class. It will immediately be reported in the media that, poor people, they are sending their children to government medical college, engineering college, and this guy wants to tax them. Actually, this is not so. It is possible to target the people, the BPL families, the students hailing from BPL families or low-income groups can be exempted. Why not tax the rich, students hailing from rich families? Their parents could be college professors, additional secretaries in government, and so on. In fact, central government is levying the full user fee from IIT students and IIM students. So I would like to summarize this point. The finance minister, though he made a bold attempt at mobilizing resources, he missed several areas, and his target, he has miserably failed in convincing the people about the need for mobilizing.
So thank you, sir, for the comments. Coming to Shaijuman, sir, like what Joe sir shared just now, the resource mobilization strategy is not in the right way it has to be. That is what Joe sir is saying. He was saying that we should have appropriate property taxes, as well as we should have increased the fees of education and health sector. So how do you see this, sir? Whether the resource mobilization strategy of the government was in the right way or in the right direction?
Yeah, thank you, Anu, for that introduction and the opportunity for this lecture. Already, Professor Sebastian mentioned various aspects. I wanted to put it in a different way that, maybe finance minister actually tried very hard, or I would say that it's a very bold step that is seen from a finance minister after a long time, that it is trying to collect more revenue or resource mobilization, actually put it as a key strategy for this budget. So that means after a long time, the government or the finance minister is actually realistic about what is happening right now in the economy from the government front. See, I won't say economy as a whole. Like as he put it, economy he actually projected as very rosy picture, as you mentioned here rightly, 12.01% growth rate that we are going to achieve this year. So anyway, I'm sure that Professor Joe Sebastian will agree with me that we always talk about this growth rate at 12.01%. In fact, the actual growth rate is only 3.58%, because it has got a base effect. Last financial year, 21-22, the growth rate was minus 8.43%. So if you look at that from that, the actual growth rate is only 3.58%. So next year, it may be like, we may be going to achieve only 4.5 or 5%. So we can call it as like, maybe 12%, 13% growth, whatever way that, the participants can think it. And we can see that actual economic growth, what is, because that post-COVID, lot of contraction happened in the economic activities. Therefore, from that very low base effect, the economy is bouncing back. But when I say this is bouncing back, we have to understand about what is going on in the economy right now. One is the age-old problem of economy is kind of like, the productive sectors are performing very weak even today. Like, even though the government first time said that the manufacturing sector of Kerala economy achieved more than 18% of growth rate, which is actually very, very ear-soothing to hear. But we know what kind of manufacturing that we have in the state, and it is not comparable with the manufacturing what is happening in the nation as a whole. But still, that is a welcome sign. Manufacturing sector has achieved a very, very good growth rate. That too also kind of like, first time this kind of figures are coming. Next thing is, if you look at the productive sectors, again, one important problem is, even though the figures say that the growth rate achieved, if you look at the national GSTP as a whole, the major growth of this GSTP has come from this retail sector, or like hotel and restaurants and business financing and such kind of things that contributed more in this growth rate. So here there is a problem. The problem is actually the productive sectors are not that very impressive even today. And at the same time, the government actually forced to spend money for producing more and more human resources. Like spending more into the schools, colleges, and all kinds of things. But at the same time, we are producing, I would always argue this, we are producing human resources for other states and other countries. The human resources we are producing and sending to other states and other countries. That's exactly what finance minister was also mentioning. For a school student, we are spending, government is spending about 50,000 rupees on an average annually. And for a medical student, about 15 to 20 lakhs rupees government is spending over and above the charges they actually get from the students, because like, remuneration of faculty, infrastructure, and supporting facilities and all. So this resource, definitely when we produce that resource, we are not producing anything much. The government is largely financing to produce human resource. This human resource we are not using. So unless and until we use this resource, we can't actually solve the problem of government revenue mobilization, because these people have to stay back in the, we have to create ecosystem for them to work back here in Kerala, and we have to actually boom. We have to concentrate on such sectors like, government rightly concentrated on this knowledge economy and stuff like that. So then we should try very hard to keep these resources back inside the state. Now, parallelly, one another trend is happening in the economy is, even before, like, getting into this transforming into human resource, the school students and college students started migrating from Kerala state to other states. That is going to be the next problem that we are going to face. So till now, government was concentrating on this human resource, but this good human resources, even before completion of their maybe courses and things, and they are started migrating to other states. That I'm leaving it there. Maybe you know what I'm trying to say. Next important thing is post-COVID situation. Lot of non-resident Keralites came back, and that is a pressure for government, and not only for the government but also for the government revenue mobilization, because this, when the foreign income comes in inside the state, that is actually converting in the form of like a lot of consumption, production, and such activities. In turn, actually it will come back in the form of a resource mobilization. But now this has come down drastically. It is going to affect a lot this year. Maybe various economists are talking about, like, this growth rate what we achieved in Kerala right now, this 12% growth rate, is because the impact of the non-resident Keralites came back to Kerala, and then they had started spending their hard-earned money, like small savings, for various ventures. But this is a big million-dollar question, that whether it has succeeded or not. But most of them have failed. But that money has come to the economy. That's why this growth rate has increased this much. But next year onwards, we don't know whether that kind of impact will be there or not. So look at the finance minister called this budget as hard budget, or like, he said the budget is kind of like, hard budget, facing a hard budget constraint. Hard budget constraint. He has given a definition that, the resources from the central government has come down drastically in various forms, like, maybe in the form of revenue deficit grant, or in the form of planning commission devolved resources, or in the form of, like, schemes and projects that is supporting by the central government. And at another bigger dimension is, like, the restricting the borrowing limit of state governments to borrow from the market. So these resources has come down drastically. But let us look at the budget figures that, 2023 budget estimates. It says that transfers was 48,230 crores. It has come down. Definitely, this budget projecting that this just come down to 37,000 crores. But share of central taxes, it has gone up. That is the one that usually state governments are looking. It has gone up from 17,720 crores to 21,000. We are expecting about 3,500 crores extra increase in transfer of, central taxes. But grants in aid, it has come down drastically. We're expecting half reduction. Earlier it was 13,509, which is coming down to 15,866. It is drastically coming down. Interestingly, you have to note that the same figure, almost same, about 15,000 crore only was there in the year 2014-15. 2016 only GST introduced. What does that mean? That means after GST introduction, in the GST Council, there was an agreement that, the revenue deficit, because of introduction of GST, it will be compensating by the central government. So definitely we could have actually get equipped to accept that reality much earlier. But instead, our finance minister and government always expected that this will continue more and more and more, or year after year after year. And because of COVID, the government extended, but now it is going to end. So that is the major reduction happened from the center. I won't buy the argument that this is because of the central government has actually drastically reduced the transfers. Actual transfers, if you look centrally sponsored scheme or central transfers and all, it is going to improve, it is going to increase. And also infrastructure, state infrastructure support grant for 50 years, the time period also extended by 1 year by the central government. So that benefit is going to come to Kerala state, because Kerala is performing better in various indicators, like the public distribution system, the connections, like attached to such kind of grants. So this, I expect some more fiscal space that we can create because of such kind of activities. Definitely, another argument actually finance minister is making is regarding the borrowing limit from 3.3%. That also during COVID time, the central government increased, and it has come down now. But the important question is, you also mentioned about this debt trap. Actually, I believe that Kerala is going towards a debt situation, because as economic students, we all know that when you borrow money, and that if you try to spend that money for revenue expenditures, definitely it will be a burden in future. Always this is a trend. Even today also, for paying salary or pension, or like funding to the agencies like KSRTC or such kind of, or the public sector undertakings, majority of them funding without actually the actual revenue collection. Some AG reports say that something around 3,000 4,000 crores that we spend it for about 100 public sector undertakings. From there we get only something less than 70 or 80 crores as money. So then this is an important problem. So that also, in that direction, the government is not addressing much. But the step towards, like try, the government is actually trying a bold step, or taking a bold step to augment its resources. And next, one more point I wanted to add is, if you look at the non-tax revenue here, we have been telling the government in various forums that there are huge potential for mobilizing non-tax revenue for the government. This time they actually tried very hard to tap from that. Like, this is expecting non-tax revenue. If you look, last financial year or the current financial year, it is about 11,769 crores expectation. Till now, about already about 15,000 crores we could mobilize. Therefore, the next year's target they have made 17,000 crores. So this is actually, you won't see such kind of increase in targets in the previous budgets. Usually non-tax revenue, they'll target like 500 crores extra, 1,000 crores. This time they have targeted more, because non-tax revenue as a source that actually the government is eyeing on. So it's a welcome step. But at the same time, I wanted to add that it should not affect the poorest of the poor of the state. So we have to take care of them also. Even though various reports, like always we say that finance commission transfers or central transfers are coming down. One of the reasons is because of we have improvement in various performances, like poverty, I mean distance criteria, or population criteria, or various criteria. If you look, we are faring better. That's why one reason why the share is coming down. So we have to actually project rightly before the government that we should get or the government has to change the methodology for transferring resource from center to states according to the changes happening in the new developments. So when I say that, so the poverty, even though statistics say poverty is less, but poorest of the poor people are there, still there. Many people are there, they don't have the capability or purchasing power. So we have to take care. So when you introduce taxes like petrol, diesel, cess kind of non-tax, I mean, it is cess collection. What happens is it will affect every sections of the population. Even property taxes and certain other taxes also, even motor vehicle taxes also, to a certain extent, it will affect the lower level, because certain kind of vehicles like moped or auto rickshaw or such kind of vehicles, in certain way it is affecting. So that is not a good side. But we actually wanted to increase the mobilization from the richer sections or the higher sections, so that the government could have actually a little more careful. But here what happens is this may lead to increase in inflation, and that inflation will defeat the purpose of allocating 2,000 crores for declining or controlling inflation in the economy. The finance minister allocated around 2,000 crores, but allocation is not there. It is actually the announcement, but allocation 2,000 crores is not there. Slowly, maybe in different sources, he is saying that it will come and control the inflation. So this is what, as a whole, I wanted to tell about this budget. On the one hand, budget is actually good in certain areas, like taking bold steps and all. And another area, like it may hit hard to the certain sections of the population. That actually, maybe I expect that during this discussions in the assembly, it may get repealed. Some of them get repealed. So in that way, we can protect the poorer sections of the population also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the comments. So just as a follow-up question, so do you think, since you're saying that the center's taxes are increasing, the share of central taxes are increasing, but the grants and aids are reduced by 50%, and I see the finance minister blaming the central government for everything, almost everything. So he was saying that the centralizing tendency in fiscal federalism is not good. We should have had more fiscal space, more borrowing. I mean, the borrowing limits should have been more higher. So is it just the, since you were supporting a little bit to the central government, so I'm just asking whether so the blame is on the state government alone, or is it like should be shared by both for the pathetic financial position of the state?
Absolutely, that statement is not right. That I'm supporting.
Yeah, no, yeah.
It's not like that. Actually, certain facts, when we explain, some group of people think that it is actually supporting center or state, and I don't want to be in any of these school of thought. But answering to your question, actually, I don't know whether you have listened the central government's budget presentation on February 1st. In that, Finance Minister mentioned, Nirmala Sitharaman mentioned about the severe fiscal stress facing by the states, and also states fiscal deficits is a bigger problem. So they have identified a separate fund also for that. So that shows, what is that showing? That shows that in states, what happening is, for increasing the revenue expenditures, they are actually borrowing and spending a lot. See, one example you just see from Kerala. We have this Kerala Infrastructure Investment Fund Board, and then that is another area of concern, like KSSP and KIF borrowing funds. The central government actually included as in the limit of the total borrowing of the state. So in my opinion also, it should include, because government only borrows through another agency, government borrows, and finally the responsibility of paying back is coming back to government. Not only that, in KIF, a certain percentage of fund from motor vehicles tax is going to that fund. That means it's government operated, even though it's an independent entity, like special purpose vehicle or whatever we call it is there, but we are funding, government is funding. So then here what is happening is, you look at the projects that we are implementing, see schools, definitely infrastructure of the schools we have to improve. So there are already reports that, like the entrance gate of the schools, just like spending 2 crores and 3 crores and modifying the entrance gate. So how, I mean, this kind of spending, how we are going to repay this money? So this money actually borrowed, or like government money from motor vehicles or whatever. So we are investing in such kind of, like, we need capital investment. In the name of capital investment, there are some indirect revenue expenditures are happening, which is not going to come back. Like, for example, this kind of investment, you are making a park, beautiful park. Definitely park is needed, amusement is needed, but we can categorize that park as a capital investment, or the entrance of a school or a college as a capital investment, but potentially the revenue, future revenue may not be generating from that to the government. So that's what I said. You need infrastructure inside the classroom, high-end infrastructure and all needed, but after studies or this human resource, we are not using. So there, the government, basically the government has to look at this kind of fundamental problems of the state economy. So if we can look at the fundamental problems of the state economy, we can actually, there are solutions also. And one more, since you asked the specific question about, center is definitely, center has to control the states in spending. But at the same time, I am also of the opinion that they could have actually increased the borrowing limit from 3 to maybe 3.5 or 4, and could have actually attached some string on that. So you borrow money and then you do this kind of things. So you borrow money and then you just spend that money for centrally sponsored scheme as a matching grant, because government is finding it very difficult to find matching grant for centrally sponsored scheme. So then, because if you look at the budget, after revenue expenditure for salary, pension and interest rates and all, the net for the capital expenditure is very less. So therefore, the central government can tell the state governments that you just borrow, and then the certain percentage of that borrowing you have to attach as a matching grant for centrally sponsored scheme, or like highway projects, or like the etc like that. So in that way you could have actually helped the state governments also. So that is also there, but you cannot actually leave completely to the states. Just borrow and then spend it for revenue expenditures, then it is fatal, and then it may get into further traps. So you look at the debt of the state, it's actually going to 4.08 lakhs crore next financial year, and that means what, it is going to be around 37-38% of GDP. But that is not a very big deal actually in if you look at economic theories. So 36, 37 or 50% or 60% is not a very big debt, because if you look at developed countries, debt may be more than 80-90% and all there. So Kerala is a developed state in that sense, so you can have that debt. But debt sustainability, potential debt trap, those things we have to be very, very careful about.
Sure, sir. I completely agree with you that I think we should realign this the revenue expenditure to capital expenditure to have a better growth for the state.
Just one more point, maybe before I forget. If you look at the budget of the government, we always talk about this committed expenditure like pension, interest rate, salary, and all. As Professor Joe Sebastian already mentioned, if you look at the revenue also, it's kind of committed revenue. If you look at that, we kind of like, every time we just look a couple of areas. One or two items, highly inelastic products like, liquor or petrol and all. It's like whatever you just charge, people will give, because there is no other option. So then another thing is motor vehicle, or like, lottery. A lottery is another interesting thing. Like, we are expecting something around 7,000 or 8,000, 10,000 crores and all. Interestingly, Finance Minister himself in the pre-budget meeting, he said that the 95-96% of lottery revenue is going as expenditure. So as what, commission or like prize money or administering this thing. So the amount mobilizing from that lottery is just 200 to 250, 300 crores. So government is not getting much revenue, but one impact is there. Employment generation is happening. 1 lakh people are depending on this lottery business. So then in that way, that is good. But for the government, in the statistics of the government budget, it is included, but in the expenditure also it is included. So net revenue is very less. Similarly, you have some other these motor vehicles like lottery. And this petrol, diesel, and liquor. These are the sources every time. This budget also, and registration and this area. So they are reluctant to find out new sources of taxation according to the changes of economy. So our economy is changing. We are talking about knowledge economy. We are talking about many things like we are talking about now Make in Kerala, concentrating on Make in Kerala. And many things are there. So lot of new announcements also there in the budget. It's all very good. But at the same time, innovative kind of revenue mobilization, resource mobilization also we have to introduce. Then only we can actually escape from this kind of situations.
So thus we actually come back to what Joe Sebastian sir said, that we have to realign this resource mobilization to those areas where we can explore, like the human resources, the education and health sector, from the fees collected and all that. So, sir, to Joe Sebastian sir, as Shaijamun sir was saying, that these measures might increase the inflation rates in the state. So the state also has in the budget earmarked 2,000 crore for market interventions to abate the inflation. So do you think this is a right thing to do, like to intervene in the market and control the inflation that would be coming out of the budgetary allocations?
Yes, it is a very foolish idea. On the one hand, the minister is triggering inflation. On the other hand, he is allocating resources for fighting inflation. this is actually a contradictory policy. Actually, the minister should have, as I have already pointed out, should have concentrated on areas from where it would have been easy to mobilize resources without affecting the vulnerable sections and without causing inflation. That was the taking over property tax from the local board and levying higher user fee, mobilizing resources from the health and education sector. These were the areas which wouldn't have affected the economic activity adversely. But unfortunately, the finance minister has not done that, and in the process, he has attracted much opposition. Now, his argument that it is because of the center's neglect, it doesn't have any basis. If we look at the central transfers, it has come down. There is no doubt about it, from 3.87% to 1.958 or something. This is bound to happen in a federal setup. What is the spirit of federalism? That is, the central government has the responsibility to ensure that uniform level of public services are ensured across the country. So the central has the responsibility of bringing up the Bimari states, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh on par with Kerala. Kerala boasts of having standards comparable to developed countries in Human Development Index, Physical Quality of Life Index, then Gender Index, etc. So we will not be eligible for the allocation meant for raising states to these standards. And our population is also coming down. So more populous states, which are lagging behind in all those fronts, will have to be allocated more. Here also, the finance minister conveniently, conceals one thing: the increase in taxable capacity. In 1972-73, Kerala stood at 8th position in per capita consumer. Kerala climbed to 3rd position in per capita consumer expenditure in 1983. And by 2000 National Sample Survey Organization Consumer Expenditure Survey, Kerala has become the topmost state in per capita consumer. And what is more significant is the content of Kerala. It is the proportion of non-food items is substantially higher than that of other states. In fact, the consumption changes in Kerala follows the Young's law of consumption. Young's law says that as the income of a country increases, the proportion of expenditure on food comes down. This is what has happened in Kerala. The consumption of non-food items has substantially increased. 3% of Kerala population forms 3% of India's population, but some unofficial data show that Kerala is account for 10% of the non-food items consumed in the entire country. Particularly luxury items like gold, motor vehicles, household items and all. But that is not reflected in our tax structure. As I have already pointed out, we mobilize substantial resources from the poor and marginalized, and I have often said there is no other Indian state where the poor and marginalized contribute so much to the exchequer. This is the effect of taxation of liquor, petrol, and lottery. This is it. The poor are contributing substantially. Now also, the finance minister is trying to, catch hold of the poor people rather than if you look at the revenue mobilization performance of Kerala, during the 10 years of Kerala formation, that is 1957, 58 to 56, 57, if we look at the old revenue mobilization of Kerala and other states, Kerala's share in the total own resources mobilized by all states put together during this 10-year period was 4.45. 4.45%. Now, in 2021-22, I have calculated it. See, Kerala's share has come down to 3.87%. That is, despite tremendous increase in the potential for taxes, the state has only lagged behind. That means, it's high time Kerala, our finance minister and our, media stopped blaming the center and start levying taxes, collecting taxes from our own people. The problem with Kerala is that over the period, we have been continuously dependent upon borrowing. If a state depends on borrowing rather than mobilizing resources, it creates what is called fiscal illusion. It creates a sense in the mind of the people that the government will somehow find the resources and we need not for them. And if we start levying taxes at a future date, at a later stage, there will be stiff opposition. That's what's happening in Kerala. All along we have been borrowing, and now the finance minister has, raised the rates of certain taxes. See the hue and cry. See how much opposition is there in the society. And another pitfall of continuous dependence on borrowing is that, there is a fundamental difference between borrowing and tax. Taxes which can be collected and which should be collected, if they are not collected, they are lost forever. If you don't levy tax or GST on a particular set of commodities today, you cannot bring those items under the tax net tomorrow. It is gone forever. But debt, once it is committed, will have to be paid with interest at a future. And when you, fail to mobilize resources from the richer section, these are the people who benefit substantially from public expenditure. Take the case of Kerala. Salary and pension forms, according to latest data, 61.57% of total revenue. And Kerala is top among 17 major states. So, to whom this much money is flowing? Nearly 5% of the population, government employees. So 5% of the population are cornering almost 52% of the revenue. So what are the options? The finance minister should have concentrated on pruning expenditure. There were ample opportunities for him, like disbanding some of the corporation bodies, then reducing the personal staff of government employees, reducing the number of advisory committees. Now if you look at the advisory committees at the panchayat level, municipal level, corporation level, block level and all, every politician, even the lowest of politicians, is given an opportunity to get some 10,000 rupees per month in the form of various university fees, honorarium, this way, TA, like that. In UP, though it is a state with some 22 crore people, the PSC, the Public Service Commission, has 8 members, but in Kerala, we have 21 members. So another important area where the finance minister could have reduced the expenditure relates to construction. See, across the state, we have a building unoccupied. There are people who are waiting for, people to occupy the building. Why not the government lease out or rent out buildings rather than go for construction. In the process, government can save capital expenditure as well as revenue expenditure. Why government should keep on constructing village offices, police stations, and taluk offices and all? It can very well be rented out. And look at the life of government buildings. On an average, the government buildings last 1/3 less than the life of private buildings because of poor quality, corruption, and poor maintenance of buildings. So there are n number of ways through which the finance minister could have reduced expenditure. He could have mobilized this, some 1,500,000 crores by pruning expenditure, by rationalizing expenditure, by proper utilization of available government services and all. But she has not done that. Instead, she has tried to mobilize it. That was the picture.
Thank you, sir, for the
I think you are on mute. You are on mute.
So sorry. So as we were discussing, like we are very Kerala is one of the frontline states in per capita income, per capita consumption, Human Development Index, and all those SDG index and every other ranking. So the Kerala government is actually giving a lot of focus to this knowledge economy, skilling, upskilling initiatives to startup ecosystems. And also even they have brought out this Make in Kerala initiative recently in this budget. Also, there is something called Mission 1000 where they will be supporting 1,000 enterprises. So I agree that the finance minister said that we have a awakening manufacturing sector. But predominantly we have a service sector. So do you think Kerala can achieve this, achieve growth through this project in the present circumstances? Will this initiative will be successful? And can we retain the youth in the state of Kerala rather than the increasing trends of migrations which we see now? What is your opinion regarding this? Yes, sir.
Okay.
So it's a question to me.
And I also
Shajiman, sir.
Yeah, I also mentioned that about, Professor Sebastian was mentioning about this expenditure pattern of Kerala people. Most of the products, recently Center for Development Studies conducted a study and submitted a report to government. And it is evident, like, maximum amount of commodities we are importing from other states. So we thought that let us concentrate domestically producing these kind of, like, import competing products or the substitutes or whatever products that we produce and supply. But I don't know, like, whether it is going to be very successful, because the consumption pattern of Kerala people are changing a lot. Not only that, if you look at the medium of consumption, it is not like direct, mostly from direct malls or shops or anything, but online e-commerce business is flourishing. I don't think that we can actually give support through the platform that supplying more products to the people. It will be like I don't know. This reminds me, like, government has started this OTT platform for releasing movies and all. But who will go to the government platform? Because this movies will not be giving to the government platform. They'll be giving to some, like, Disney Hotstar or such, like, world famous this thing. All these Malayalam movies also going there only. So it's like that. So just controlling this imports. So if we start a mission, like, it is a welcome step, like Make in Kerala, it's a welcome step. At least the manufacturing base we can expand, or the production base we can expand. But at the same time, we have to actually think about the constraints that we have. We have to actually explore the factors. I always say this, the behavioral factors attached to the problems of the economy. Like, one thing is, you can see that here the unemployment is one of the highest in Kerala, but at the same time, we are getting more people from Bihar, Bengal, and all kinds of areas. But our unemployment is a different kind of unemployment. Like that, our the problems, productivity problems, or like industrial problems, or the consumption things are entirely different from other states and other problems. So we have to actually see it that way. So maybe in that way, it is very good that the government is trying to actually trying to focus on making the products inside the state. So that way we are expecting that we can reduce actually imports. But I'm a little skeptical about that, because if you look at the kind of products that we import, I don't know whether we can actually make really substitute products for that. But at the same time, it is a good attempt and we can improve our production. Next thing is, if you look at, again, I wanted to say about, see, the foreign income used to come here, like a non-Kerala, non-resident Keralites, and this income just simply go to, one is to banks as bank deposit, other go to like other states in the form of like when our construction sector thrives, actually the people are working there are from other states, Bihar, Bengal, or such states. Their marginal propensity to consume is comparatively very less. Simply this money they'll save, and that money will go back to that states, and those economies actually thriving because of the foreign money coming from abroad to Kerala. That is the one thing. Another thing is actually for the construction, all the products for construction. I have to tell you one example. For construction is coming from outside states. So in that way, like the products are coming, and then money, whatever we are generating, is going out. This is kind of things are going on. Similarly, I said about this human resource we are producing, just going outside, and then it is not using. So here something basic fundamental economic problem is there. So that we have to address. Other than that, just like garnishing something, or like window dressing the things that won't solve the age-old problems that is facing by the Kerala state. So this area actually we have to look. So I think your question is about Kerala, Make in Kerala project only, right? If I got it right. So this is the opinion about Make in Kerala project.
Thank you, sir. Joe, sir, what do you think about Make in Kerala project? Will that succeed? Are you also skeptical like that of Shaitan, sir? What do you think?
I'm not fully skeptical, because the high time Kerala made an attempt at this. Because,
Okay.
there are products which can be manufactured in Kerala. For example, Kerala is the producer of raw materials like coconut, rubber, spices, marine products, coir, cashew, etc., etc. So Kerala has to find its own niche. Certain products can be manufactured, and instead of spreading the scarce public resources on all kinds of industries, Kerala should pick and choose. Certain lines of industries should be selected, and entrepreneurship should be promoted in such areas. Innovation should be promoted. For example, rubber products. Why Kerala, which was the highest in rubber production, now rubber prices have come down, but that is not reflected in the price of tire or many rubber products. So there is every scope for innovation, supporting entrepreneurs within Kerala on certain products. Like, of course, all products cannot be manufactured in Kerala. So it's high time, to start a campaign like a Make in Kerala. It may not succeed in, in all product lines. Over the period of time, we will come to know what are the areas where Kerala can, find a niche for itself and concentrate on. So it is worth undertaking project, particularly when the finance, the industries minister is boasting of 1 lakh enterprises have come up in Kerala. I don't know. It is. I think it is just a hype, and many of the enterprises would be classified as trading establishments or services. But if there are a few enterprises in the manufacturing sector, they have to be supported, intensively so that they survive in the market and over a period of time they graduate to medium scale enterprise. So this should be the strategy.
Thank you, sir, for that comments. So a reminder to the listeners, I request you to put in your questions and comments in the chat box of the social media platform that you have logged in. So we'll be collating the questions and we'll have a question answer session towards the end of the discussion. So coming back to Shaiju Moon, sir, the budget actually identified three major issues in the in Kerala economy. One is the increasing dependency population ratio. Second is rehabilitation of this NRKs who are returning. And third is the youth migration for employment and education outside India and settling there. So we have a knowledge mission, we have skilling initiatives and all that to improve the employability and skills of youth in Kerala. So do you think this demographic change and the policies in the budget are in alignment? Since you were saying that there are some fundamental issues in the economy, what do you suggest to improve the situation?
Actually, this is what I said. Some attempts have been made in this direction. First time, we understood, the population demographic factors are changing in the economy. Old population is increasing. The budget says that by next year or like by 2030, it is it is about 20% of our population, 1/5 of our population is going to be old population. And then at the same time, we are not actually making specific policies towards that direction. Some mentions are there, but you look at this, this geriatric area, the budget is not actually specifically giving any kinds of proposals, projects, other than kind of, fund allocation for old age programs and old age projects and some kind of programs, existing programs is extra money allocated. But we need a scientific approach in this area because our labor structure is changing, our requirements for the economy is changing. And say, for example, requirements, when I say, when the government spends for health, then you have to look these changes in demographic structure also. And when they spend for salary or pension also, they have to look this aspect. This I mentioned earlier, various forums, say for example, now the retirement age of the state is about 56 for the old system and 60 for the new system. But people are very active up to maybe 70 and all, like in developed countries. How we can make use of those people, expertise people, at the same time, we should not actually it should not at the cost of the youth population to get employment. So this how we can actually balance these two. This we have to think, because you are giving pension, and then this pension is actually, if roughly the people actually live up to maybe 80-90-year-old, then the burden is on the government. So the government actually have to think about how we can use after retirement these kind of people for a contract basis or some other basis and all in the job. That is one. See, that's what I said. The expenditure when the government make, or when the revenue when the government collects, or like policies when they implement, they have to keep in mind about this changes in demographic structure. Then old people or that the aged people are going to be a big actually challenge for the economy. And along with that, the government mentioned about this non-resident Keralites. Heavily, there a lot of people actually started coming back to Kerala, and then it is our responsibility to support them with various projects, various funding, finance, and various things. Already some projects announced in the last budget. This budget also actually they mentioned certain areas, but here also I wanted to say that we haven't conducted any scientific study, and then we have to approach these things as a scientific approach these things in the form of a very scientific way, because it's going to be a big issue later on. We don't want this kind of now we are talking about government financial issues. These people started talking from 80s, 90s onwards, like, the government may go into such kind of situation. We have to think about all those, but no one listened. Same kind of catastrophe we don't want in this kind of areas, like at least like old age people. And if you look at the birth rate, that's also coming down. So then the newborns are coming down. That also budget says number has come down drastically. It is going to come down very, very drastically. So the type of labor force or the structure of population is actually shifting accordingly. The policies also. So I am very happy that the government realized that the government is actually making some small attempts, but no programs announced in that. Maybe later on that they may announce. And you see that the non-resident Keralites have come back. Have we made any critical or like important attempt to understand that what kind of skills they have, how we can use that skills inside, how we can support them, or how we can use them in the economy? And that we are not doing anything. Even in the local bodies, they don't have the proper data that how many people. Generally, they know that from the airports they collect this data that this many number of people. Okay, but where they have gone, what kind of activity they do right now, what kind of challenges they face. So this kind of scientific approach we need. We have to find out them and then do. Also, the structure of industry and structure of work is changing. That's what our finance minister said. Like, they focus more on work from home or work from holiday home and all. Like what, see, industrial structure is changing all over the world. Industry is no longer the big industries. Industry is kind of like, one or two or like, a couple of big assembling units, and the remaining work is dispersed, and people are started working from home or working near home or smaller entities. So accordingly, so the infrastructure also we have to change. So then only we can tap maximum by using these kind of people. So last budget we announced a very, very ambitious program, like creating data bank or labor bank and all at local or rural levels. But there is no evidence that we started using those people for various activities. So we have to act on that. Coming back to the youth, the third item, definitely youth also, the type of jobs they require, type of education they require, it's changing. So it's a welcome step that finally the government admitted that foreign universities they're going to accept, and then foreign investment they are going to accept. So in that way, you can connect this youth to the world economy, to the other countries. So they will, and we can make use, we can create opportunities. Then they won't run away. If the opportunities are here, if they can actually feel that here in Kerala, I can study well, I can actually get global exposure, I can actually get a good living and all. Definitely, geographically, Kerala is one of the best places of the world that that youth may choose to. Finance Minister rightly said that choose to stay back, but the government has to create facilities, and the government also finally accepted that private investment only can actually give more impetus to the economy. So they announced certain programs for attracting more private investment also in the economy. But still, again, I'm a little skeptical that unless your behavioral aspects or even the cultural aspects, like still Kerala is known for these labor issues and all. Even today, we are hearing we are known for women atrocities, and still we are known for many things. This will create bad impression among the investors and the public, and that actually will affect the economic investments from the private party also.
You're right on point, sir. Behavioral part of that has to be accounted, and also I'm happy that the government is addressing the issues. At least they're identifying the issues. We'll hope that they will address these issues, especially the care economy and all, in the coming budget. So just to conclude the whole session, I saw very interesting announcements regarding evaluation of the plan expenditure that is being done by the government. The government is planning to increase the efficiency of plan expenditure through major three interventions. One is healthy competition among the government agencies, and they have earmarked around ₹100 crore for that. Second, they are planning a new edition of Plan Space, where they are successfully evaluating the plan expenditure. And third is preparation of annual reports, which was stalled for quite some time. So how do you see this initiative? Whether we'll learn from these evaluations and will do the necessary course corrections in the future? What do you think, sir? Joe, sir.
I don't think there is much scope for it, because unless there is a remarkable change in the attitude of the government employees, and also, administrative and procedural steps which will force government employees to be more accountable. This kind of pronouncement may not achieve much. For example, allocating 100 crores for, inculcating a culture of competition between departments. I do not know. We don't know the details about it, because government employees in the different departments are also part of the union of the ruling front. They are members of the ruling front and the opposition front. So what is behind all these, announcements is the interest group. The government employees have their own interest, to ensure more promotion opportunities, to protect, employees who are corrupt, who are, lax in their work and all. So, what does the government mean? If the government wants to introduce such a competition between departments, then the government should be recruiting a different crop of people to run the government. For example, people are recruited on contract basis, fixed tenure, and they are given. You have to really deliver goods. Otherwise, you will be removed. Those kind of strictures should be there. Unfortunately, it is not possible in the current scenario. The promotion are service tenure based. For example, if you complete 10 years, you automatically get a promotion, or 15 years, then you become deputy director. So this kind of time-bound promotion and very lax way of promotion committee. So these are all going. I'm very skeptical about this kind of announcement, but at the same time, one has to really wait and see.
Thank you, sir. So, Shaijamohan sir, what are your comments on this mobilization, so efficiency?
Same thing, actually. If you are not changing the system, and then just like by using the system, you are trying again to making you are actually asking them to compete and gain. Already, such kind of systems are there in the government in different forms. So you look at like what kind of methodology they use for evaluating such projects. That maybe there may be a list of methods or something they may put, but at the end, what will happen is those who are very close to maybe some kind of officers or government or some kind of group, they will get better score, or they will get better this thing, and like that it will go. I mean, it is a good attempt, but at the same time, the system is actually not changed, and the government is not ready to change. One example I'll tell you, even this budget also, again, they're telling about smart village officers. I don't know whether any of these sitting here have gone to a village office right now. I have gone to a smart village office. It's smart. What does the government meant by smart? They have actually converted everything in the computer. But the people are not changing. They asked, actually, to me also, I went personally, I reported to the government also. And then they said that, sir, you just go outside, there is a computer center, you just enter there, do all those things. I said, I did from home, but it is nothing happening. But once you have to do outside computer center, they will connect to us, then only here the connection will come. See, look at in a rural village, a person is going, then they have some kind of connection to local computer centers or something, and then these people are sitting there to just press yes or approve and all. So because of this digitalization or like smart village officers, our revenue has not improved much. and still, like, they don't know how much revenue is coming and all. So I that's what, again, behavioral part is coming again, this culture is coming. So the culture of the people have to change. I'm not saying everyone is like that, but system has to have some kind of correction mechanism. Then only we can actually see the improvement in competitive funding, or, like, this kind of allocation. Definitely one thing is very, very good, that government again realizing that the outcome oriented spending is very important than just allocating money for some spending. So outcome, you have to look. Now there is no mechanism to look outcome, like what kind of outcome. As I mentioned, like, they get normal promotion, they get everything like that, and then those who are very good influence in the unions and all, they get all kinds of support and things. Definitely unions are necessary for their rights and all, but at the same time we have to be aware about their duties also. So that if you are not correcting that, I don't think this kind of policies are going to be beneficial for improving the mechanism of delivery.
Thank you, sir. So just moving on to the questions from the listeners, since we have come to a end of the discussion. So the first question is to Shaijamon sir from Dhanraj sir. So since you are in the teaching sector, like education sector, what kind of change are you looking for, at least in what kind of budget will meet the aspirations of Kerala people? What do you think?
I strongly believe that actually our schooling or college or higher education system has to have a strong connected to international development. So we, on the one hand, we are talking about industry 4.0, artificial intelligence, data analytics, quantum computing, robotics, big data, internet of things, everything we talk. But on the other side, when you teach, or when you actually approach the education pedagogy, or, like, syllabus and all, there is completely devoid from all these things. We do know that the next 2-3 decades, it is going to be the decade of these kind of industries. And if you wanted to create appropriate skills for our youth to connect it to this, then we have to start from the schools. Because why I am saying this authoritatively, because I am right now as serving as the vice chairman for the this school curriculum revision from 1st to 12th for social sciences. So then there I am seeing that this resistance coming from the teachers to change. So they are not ready to change. Even the software, introduction of software for economics and all, it's not acceptable. But students are capable. Students are very, very capable right now from 7th, 6th standard onwards. But we are not giving the required inputs to that students. That's why the students are actually looking. They know the world right now through these gadgets. So they will look outside and they will fly away. They will go. Those who have capacity. They are also those who don't have anything. People, the poor people, they don't have means, but at the same time they are very bright, but they don't have anything. They will perish. So this kind of system we have to change right from the right now we are facing only higher education. The students are going out. I am pretty sure that within 5 years, from schools also, the students will start going out if we continue such system here. So we have to change that systems. We have to change skills. So we are not actually giving any importance to imparting skills along with our studies. And after, like, engineers, you take the engineers. We are in Kerala is one of the biggest production factories of engineers. So how many engineers are having adequate skills to contribute the production? And the studies say that less than 3 or 4%. The remaining 96% or 95%, they are end up in something else. Why the student has to go for engineering and then ending up in something else? So here also, like, the students are thinking that getting engineering or getting certain kind of job education is very important for achieving success in their life. But at the same time, they could not actually meet that. Then in the end, the frustration will come, and then they may end up in, like, doing some kind of menial job or something, office job or something, and then these people will actually will be very hard to public, and then they won't, because they are not happy what they got. So from that level onwards, we have to change. Education is a bigger area, but I think we are not realizing that education changed a lot. We still boast about our literacy. We still want, because I sit in this, maybe Sebastian sir also knows, when we go and sit in this, the board of studies or syllabus making workshops, everyone wanted to reduce the syllabus. Everyone wanted to, okay, definitely content you can reduce, but quality you have to be higher. Then only you can compete with international standards. So that kind of changes have to come in. Otherwise, our youth, they get education and they get stranded, and then they won't get job, and finally they will end up in doing something. And startup, we are talking about startup here. You mentioned about 2 lakhs, 1 lakh startup ecosystem. You know what happened in the schools? The government asked the students to register for startup. That statistics also be included as a startup. That is exactly what happened. And then, the real startup in that 1 lakh, 2 lakh startup is very less number. So the numbers are there. By using statistics, you can play. See, if you look at the startup portal, startup missions portal, registered startups, these numbers are there. But how many of them are actually working there as startup? We know very well. You just look around and see that Cochin or Trivandrum, we just look around at how many are there. Then we can understand how many are there. If you want to really do a startup, you just fly to Bangalore or Hyderabad or Gift City, Gujarat or so, and then you just do all those things here. Maybe when you do, then such kind of encouragement. I'm not actually telling everything is bad over here, but I'm saying I really wanted to see that the things have to improve, because we have such a potential. Definitely, even though with all these kind of problems also, Kerala can come out. Kerala people are very, 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 very good, and they have resource. And there is a saying always, even now also it says like this, Kerala's people are rich in resources, not only income and the intellectual resources, everything, capacity, intellectual capability and all, but government is very poor because of various actions, various issues. So we have to use this intellectual children or youth for the development of the state.
Thank you, sir. The next question is being asked to Joe, sir. So the question is, while building Kerala, an important role in the, how much focus should be given to climate resilient infrastructure as the state continues to be climate vulnerable? So yeah, the question is from Anisri.
Yeah, it is high time the government concentrates on these issues, because climate change is going to impact Kerala's agriculture and our living areas. The areas where people really live and work. That has been proven in the last 2 floods. So climate resistant construction and shifting people from vulnerable areas and constructing houses and living areas in more climatically adaptable, accommodating places. So this is going to be a big challenge, but unfortunately the government doesn't have a resource here. The universities and colleges will have to be encouraged to undertake a research model, so that at a future date government can chip in, and maybe there can be collective efforts by the universities, research institutions and industry. For example, climate resistant building materials. So ready to fix building materials, so that people from the hilly area can be they are shifted to coastal areas, where you'll have to construct houses of the different kinds. So there are so many challenges which need to be addressed. Perhaps students from Kerala may have to go to foreign countries like Netherlands or Norway, Sweden. So how developed countries have addressed these issues? What are the curriculum changes they have introduced? What are the courses that are available? in the scenario of global climate change. So I'm pretty sure in most of the countries, there may be some government departments, some universities, concentrating on this. Unfortunately, we do not have any university or a particular department that is exclusively devoted for studies and action related to climate change. So unfortunately, I don't think this budget has any specific allocation for that. Perhaps there may be, but I don't think there is any substantial allocation.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Another question from Anne Mary Chaco. So she's giving a comment. Along with innovative tax base widening is needed. Existing source of tax evasion, including state GST, need to be checked. Increasing user fees for the rich will have negative externality on the state economy in terms of more and increased youth migration. Also, huge tax burden only on a so-called reported rich category will result in a regressive impact. This starts from identifying the BPLs in the state. The sustainability aspect of borrowing and spending by the state should only sometimes be to prove the aggressive and destructive stand towards the center. So this is the comment from Anne Mary Chaco. So Shaijuman sir, do you have any comments on this? So she's saying that the increasing user fees on the rich will have a negative externality.
She actually, no question about that. She is right. Theoretically, she is right. Whatever we are saying is right now for tiding out the situation, we have to have certain resources. So that's what this is not in long run. Long run, definitely, as she said, widening the tax base has to be the approach. Your rates have to bring it down. So that is sure. But right now, I mean, I don't think because of this youth will run away from here. Like we are not talking about taking all the taxes, all the money as tax from all the youth. We are just talking about if a rich person goes to a medical college, it should not be payment same like a poor person goes there. Right now, it's like there is no much difference. Like if you wanted to have a X-ray, this thing. I mean, when they go, both people are actually charging or not charging for both. This is what we should actually stop. And then if some better position people when they go there, they have to right, some difference is there, but little bit more. I am not saying that you just take away all the money of the people in the form of fees or taxes and just like but you just think about the other one, like poor people, taxing this liquor and all. It's like indiscriminately taxing. Who is complaining about that? Nobody is complaining. And then people are not actually because there is no substitutes. Otherwise, if the rich should have consumed that, definitely more rich should have gone and settled there and somewhere else also. So in that argument, we can argue a lot. But at the same time, widening the tax base would be the good approach. But rates now very below minimum levels are there that you have to change. One more point about the previous question. Sir mentioned about the climate resilient construction. I wanted to suggest one more thing for the state is that climate smart agriculture. Agricultural pattern is also changing a lot, and production is changed. The weather is changed accordingly. Our crop and crop pattern, crop production types, everything also have to change accordingly, that we have to sensitize the farmers about which crop can give more and those things. So climate smart agriculture also, and that actually I haven't seen anything related to that in the current budget. So they could have already start that climate smart agriculture. Very well about this coconut, kind of like it is going down now, and then rice is going down, but certain other new crops, new kind of products, new fruits, new crops. It is very much actually, we thought that this only can cultivate in various other different climate, but now we can cultivate here also. We have to identify such kind of crops, such kind of products, and then give training to the people. Still, again, the system is not changed. Same agriculture officers, same local level people, they say that okay, support for coconut, support for rice, support for that, same thing, it is continuing. We are not changing anything in that direction. Then it will affect the income of the people also. Okay.
So behavioral changes has to come in every sector. Yeah. So is there time to take one more question? Is that okay? Yeah. So another question is, do you think the budget focused more on job creation or job seekers? So this is a question from Akansha. Any one of you can answer. Joe sir.
I don't think there is any specific budget proposal aimed at job creation aspect. So there is a lot of talk about knowledge economy, training people, skill upgradation, and ASAP, and so on. I think the main thrust is on entrepreneurship. Though we may have to discount the number of enterprises created with the claim that Shaiduman has rightly pointed out. There is some change taking place. At least the government is sending a message to the community that now people have to stand on their own. So, entrepreneurship development, entrepreneurship is the in thing now. So there will be a lot of emphasis on that. Surely there will be job creation. In fact, the government is now thinking about allowing students to work in industry part-time. For example, in a day, they can spend 2 hours in an industry or, as a, part-time employment. And all this is going to change the attitude of the student. Rather than becoming job seekers, they may try to become job providers. So that is a welcome change. So if we look at the whole scenario, the new thrust on entrepreneurship is in fact a different way of telling the people that you have to become job creators. So job creation thrust is there.
Thank you, sir. So to conclude the session, so the key takeaways were like first we were discussing the issues in the budget. So imposing cess on petroleum products, taxing the liquor, increasing the motor vehicle taxes. So we identified that there is a cascading effect to all these increase in taxes, but we should have better focused on increasing the user charges and in other sectors where we could have actually mobilized the resources. Because all the current tax increases, they are on highly inelastic products like liquor and petrol and diesel and all that. So it will affect the family budget in general. The second major point that came out of the discussion was off-budget borrowing of the state through KIFBI and non-generation of revenues of some infrastructure. So this is affecting the debt sustainability, so which could even lead to a debt trap. So the way forward that we have concluded is, one is we should have innovative revenue generation methods. We have to think outside the traditional way of imposing cess on liquor or put petrol and diesel, and on the main revenue making things like lottery, liquor and all that. Second is hiking the property tax and tax on education, not tax, user fees on education and health. That is one of the methods that was suggested by Joe sir. And like what Shaijaman said, we should have a behavioral change. We should undertake scientific studies to the fundamental issues. Since we are investing a lot in the knowledge economy and other skilling and upskilling initiatives, and as well as the entrepreneurship and startup ecosystem. But we are seeing a demographic change, a labor change in the sector, in the economy. So we should have a scientific study to find the missing links and mend these issues. Only then we can achieve a better growth of the state. Third was Kerala needs to invest rightly in retaining the human resource rather than we are seeing an increasing migration pattern. Even sir was saying that eventually even the school students might migrate due to the bad school education system that we have, the lack of quality in the education system we have. So we should rightly invest in retaining the human resource. Also, we should focus the senior citizens, because we will have a 20%, almost 20% of the population being senior citizens by maybe 2030. So we should have the budget should have rightly given some allocation or brought out some scheme or policies to support the senior citizens, or to better use them. Like what he said, in some of the state countries we have a higher retirement age. So this can actually decrease the pension and other mandatory things, mandatory revenue expenditures, as well as we can better use these resources as well. So I think the budget should have actually focused on these things. Thank you for the insightful discussion. There were a lot of points and a lot of important stats and figures that actually came out in the discussion. Thank you, Joseph Astin sir. Thank you, Shaijamon sir, for this engaging discussion. Thank you for the participation. Thank you for logging in. Thank you to all the participants who are logging in and listening so intently and putting up the questions. And I also like to thank the organizing team at CPPR, especially the communication team, for the smooth conduct of the webinar. And with this, I like to formally close the proceedings of the webinar. Please do share your views on budget discussion, the Kerala budget discussion, with the hashtag #budget with CPPR. Good evening and goodbye. Thank you.
So thank you, Anu, for wonderful coordinating the program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.